welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which is technically a prequel and a sequel to the movie of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is also on Netflix. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a live-action movie, however, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off is more of a cartoon anime, with 8 episodes, all at like half an hour each. So that's a good 4 hours of your time. Easily bash it out in a day like I have, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen the movie, so I'm definitely going to go watch it after this. This has made me want to watch the movie. Again, it is a very long show to watch, but it's very visually appealing, and there is something I want to get into just quickly before I continue going on with this review. People are calling this an anime. I'm not calling it an anime, because it's not an anime. It is made in America, so it is not a Japanese cartoon, which is an anime. It is an American cartoon, and it doesn't even have the anime art style. It has the art style that is from the book, from the comic book, which Scott Pilgrim is. It's like a book that got adapted into a movie and then adapted again into this show. So I'm going to be calling it a cartoon, and it's going to be in the series review playlist. That's why it's here, and that's why it's not in the anime review playlist. So, let's get into it. After meeting the woman of his dreams, a charming musician finds himself contending with an army of her ex-boyfriends. That's a complete and utter lie. This diverts so far from the film, and mentions the film quite a bit. So it starts off the same way the film does. Scott dreams about a girl, and the girl is using his mind as like a quick highway to get to A to B, because it's that empty. She works for Netflix. He meets her at a party, in real life, not just in his dreams, and he buys a movie, or rents a movie from Netflix. She drops it off at his door. They go out, they go on one date, a blizzard happens, they go home to her place, and they sleep together. Scott invites her to his band playing, they go and play the band, and everything's good. One of the evil exes comes, the first evil ex, the first one she ever had, comes in and tries to punch Scott and kills Scott with one fatal punch. We then have the aftermath of everything that's happened. The 7 evil exes disband, and number 1 takes 7's place in the hierarchy and takes over everything. Ramona is then the one and the main star of this series, so it should have actually been called Ramona, not Scott Pilgrim. We then have Ramona going to see all of her exes because she actually finds out Scott's not dead, because she was skating down his dream mindway again, somehow, and she realizes he's not dead, so she goes to the place that he died and sees on security camera that it was a vegan portal that he fell through. So she goes and asks any other one who knows who could have happened to Scott. And she meets her 4th evil ex. They have a fight, they work things out, and then that sets her on a path to continue. At the end of every episode, we meet the next evil ex. So the next one is Lucas. I do believe he's number 3, number 2. And then we continue, so on and so forth. From Lucas, we go to the movie theater where he's actually playing Scott Pilgrim in the movie, which you actually saw. And the movie is real life, but because time got rewritten, it is a movie here. So, continuing on, they find out that it's not Luke, and they save him from paparazzi and get him out, and they befriend each other. We then have young Neil finds a book and posts it online. Posts it and starts making a movie. That's how they meet Luke. That's where he was making the movie. And then the next evil ex, the vegan one, who is auditioning for a movie, he gets involved in an affair with Scott's roommate, and then we continue on. We then see Ramona being a stunt double and getting close to the vegan to try and talk to him, and he works out that obviously he's not in behind it, so they continue on to the next one, who was the 7th, and now he's living with her friend who works in the coffee shop. Luke moves in with both of them, and they destroy her house. She gets angry, They work out that it's not him, so she goes home, and the group of friends sex bomb all the ones that were in the band. Also go to her house because none of them have her number, and they give her some information, and she gives them information. She works out that it's the twins who used the robot to create the vegan portal because the robot is vegan, and they also share some information with, it's not actually young Neil who wrote the memoir, it's not actually young Neil who wrote the story, it was someone else. We then cut to Scott returning, and then the next episode we're in the future where Scott stole... Right, this is where the time travel comes in, this is where it gets confusing as fuck. So, I'm going to call him middle-aged Scott. He comes and drags young Scott to his house, where he's still living with his mate. Then he forbids him from getting with Ramona, because that's where his life started going shit and downhill. So he goes to see Ramona, and Ramona takes him back in time and telling him the real story, and she reveals that she was the one that wrote young Neil's story, wrote his film, wrote his screenplay. And then we have them going to see this screenplay with all the evil exes. Scott tries to fight them because he can't kiss Ramona. And with that, they all watch the film, and they get transported back to the future to see old Scott, or even older Scott, who is this big musclehead who is gonna kill everyone. It is him versus the world, or the world versus him, because everything keeps going shit, and his plan was foiled. So he starts to scrap with them, and in this scrap, we have everyone being defeated, but it is a really cool fight, not gonna lie. Everyone gets defeated. Ramona merges with her future self to become like an astral plane being, and then sends them both back to their timeline, and they continue their future. Ramona learns not to run away from the people she loves and not be scared of commitment, and everything works out. That's pretty much where it ends off. That is the brief story of it. Again, I explained it in 7 minutes? 6 minutes? And it's a whole 4-hour thing, so I do recommend you do go and watch it. I only quickly explained it, so then you have reference to it when I go into detail about it. So, I'm going into detail about what I like. I love the art style. I think it is so cool and unique. What bugs me is everyone calls it an anime. It's not an anime. It's a cartoon. It looks like a cartoon, and it is based off the art style of the comics, so it's not an anime. It still looks visually good, and it still has anime references. We have references to so many different other forms of media. We have Detective Pikachu directly referenced. We have Optimus Prime directly referenced. We have the minions on screen being directly referenced. We also have Back to the Future vaguely being referenced, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with his Star Platinum punches. And the art style is so bright, so vibrant, so colourful, and I just love it. It stands out so well. And I'm very happy. I'm very glad I watched this. I was actually going to give this one a miss. And if you noticed from my news reviews on the posters, I was actually going to give it a miss. But I decided, you know what, I have some free time. I'm going to watch it. And I'm so glad I did. It is such an amazing story. The time travel little bits get a little bit iffy and a little bit confusing. And then there's a little bit of paradoxes which you can work out from it. Because he actually destroys the robot, but then if he destroyed the robot, technically he wouldn't have been able to do his plan, and then this wouldn't have all been happening, and it would have unraveled and caused, black holes and shit. But it doesn't. And the time travel, again, it's the most iffiest part of it, but a key feature of this series, which I do like, and I do enjoy, is the way that they make this world like a video game, and they defy physics, they defy everything, but it just seems normal and no one questions it. It seems like an average normal world to begin with, but the further you go, the more crazy and chaotic it becomes with all the different powers, the different things that happen with time travel, with Ramona having a bag which basically has an infinite void inside, with the vegan powers and everything. It's just a very random set of powers which shouldn't be real, and everyone just accepts, and I quite like that. I think that's quite cool that no one just questions it, and it's just accepted as it's part of the world, and it just makes the world more unique and stand out and more far-fetched than our own world. one of my favourite scenes was when Ramona was fighting her fourth evil ex in the video store, and they were flying around and they were going through different movies, and they fell out of a plane, very Uncharted style, and it looked really cool. It looked badass, and it was one of the best fight scenes in the entire thing, other than the last one. They kept hyping up the big battle, and they kept pulling out some twists and turns, pulling the carpets from underneath us to reveal Scott as the main bad guy, which I thought was pretty cool. I kind of expected him to be the big bad at the end of it all. I did have my sneaky suspicions of the guy in the white suit, the seventh evil ex. I genuinely thought it could have been him to end with, where he would be like the main bad, but no, it pulled the rug out from under me and got me with Scott being the most evil person. I still question stuff about them. I'm gonna be honest, I do question what Scott did wrong, because they went through a rough patch, that she just needed a little bit of space, and he left for like 11 years, and now they have to sort of grow and get to know each other again. So it is quite interesting, because he doesn't blame himself, he blames Ramona, and he says it's all her fault. So I am quite interested to see who's actually in the wrong, but we never actually find that out. It is still a mystery of what actually went wrong in their relationship, and I'm very invested in their story, not gonna lie. I don't believe we will get a season 2, because I think it ended on a pretty good, solid note. Very happy ending. It wrapped up the film, and it included the film in its own story. So, again, it is just a perfect sort of thing. And to be fair, I thought the film that they were making in this show was the live action that we saw, and I thought it was quite interesting to see. But no, it was actually, the film was real life. And that is, I don't know, time travel is weird. I feel like there's a lot of plot holes with the time travel stuff, but again, I didn't pick up on all of them, so let me know in the comments below what plot holes you guys found and what you picked up to do with the time travel stuff. But I'm a very big fan of this, and I am going to go watch the movie on Netflix, so definitely be sure to check that video out when it does drop in a couple of days once I actually do watch the film. The art style is very beautiful. They got the original cast back from this movie, which makes perfect sense now that it is intertwined with this series. They have one continuous narrative, one continuous storyline with all the characters returning, and it does make the film stand out, and it does sort of make sense with the time travel, why it could have changed to an animation instead of a live action. I don't know, just time travel stuff, it makes sense. They made it make sense in the Ninjago movie, so it makes sense here. And I'm a big fan of the animation. I loved it. All this like video game stuff that popped up, all the video game references to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I liked the voiceover guy who was saying their names, saying the battles, and I thought it was really cool. It just has a very unique visual style and a very unique sort of film cinematography style as well. There we go, big fancy words. But all the voice actors are incredible. We have Brie Larson, we have Chris Evans, so we have some big major MCU actors which signed up for the original film back in the day before they made it big with Marvel. So it's very interesting to see where they've come from and when they've come back to, and how expensive this budget is going to be now that they're very big movie stars. But I am going to give this show a very solid 9 out of 10. Again, it is near perfect. I cannot give it a 10 out of 10 because of the time travel screw-ups that they had, but other than that, it is pretty much perfect in every other way. The voice acting was on point, and that is to be expected. However, to be fair, I was very wary of actors doing voice acting because they're not very notorious for doing very well. Most voice actors are voice actors for a reason, and most actors are actors for a reason, and they can't swap and turn. Some people can, but not all of them can. So it's very interesting to see them all reprise their roles, and do a very solid job at the voice acting. And I'm very excited to see what else comes from the Scott Pilgrim world, and what else we'll see. Maybe we'll get a follow-up series where they're all working together.